Ukraine and NATO naval forces have begun military drills in the Black Sea. The country blocked last year's exercises by banning foreign troops in its territory. These manoeuvres are to tackle piracy, but some Ukrainians are still far from happy that they're going ahead. Alexei Yereshevsky is in the port of Odessa.
The Sea Breeze 2010 War Games kicked off in Odessa between NATO countries and Ukraine, as well as other countries. All in all, 13 states are taking part in this naval and air war games held here. It is held practically every year for the 7th time since 1997. Last year it was cancelled due to recession, but this year, despite what some say what some describe as a major policy change coming from Kiev, the games are being held here in Odessa and everywhere across the Ukrainian Black Sea coast, in Crimea and the Nikolaev region, which is just about several hundred kilometers from here. Now, we understand that the main mission of these war games is to train anti-piracy actions in open seas, as the recent cases with pirate takeovers of ships near the African coast have been very often, and that's why this is the main priority of the NATO forces, and as well as other countries also suffering from piracy in the African seas. What is interesting here is that despite a recent policy change in Kiev, which said that it no longer wants to be a part of the alliance and no longer wants to join NATO, the games are being held under the watchful eye of the Progressive Socialist Party of Ukraine, which is again protesting in the streets of Ukraine's Black Sea coast cities, and they are unhappy with the presence of NATO servicemen on this very soil. They kicked off their protest action last Friday in Kiev, in central Independence Square, and they're planning to hold their protest actions everywhere across the Ukrainian Black Sea coast, in the Crimean cities. And I'd like to remind to our viewers that several years ago, during NATO war games, their actions, their protests led to rescheduling of the war games, because several thousand people took to the streets of the Crimean city of Feodosia, and the organizers of the war games had to reschedule the whole agenda of the war games in order to have them run smoothly and in order for the protests not to get in their way. The biggest question is whether these protests would be able to somehow hamper the 22 Sea Breeze war games, as it happened several years ago in the Crimea.